Hi friends, welcome to Lazo. Today we have a special guest, a Forbes reporter and crypto expert, Michael del Castillo. Michael, thank you so much for being with us.
It's a pleasure to be with you, Lily. Thank you for having me.
I love your recent cover story about the Winklevoss twins. My first question is, how much time did you spend getting to know them?
Great question. I've actually known Tyler and Cameron Winklevoss for several years. To tell a cover story like that takes a lot of work. And perhaps most importantly, relationship building. You have to develop a lot of trust with your sources, and that takes time. So I've been getting to know them and their work for many years now. And when I finally had the opportunity to go into a lot of depth with this story, my relationship with them already existed. Now, that was just the beginning, though, because once we started working on the story, I'd say we worked together for another month, maybe even 2 months from beginning to end.
So what are they really like?
Great question. They're much different than I think a lot of the world thinks. Most people got to know Tyler and Cameron through the lens of The Social Network, which was really the story about their nemesis, Mark Zuckerberg. And so in a lot of ways, they were presented in kind of a negative light. But actually, they're pretty down to earth. They're really friendly and thoughtful. They definitely are honest about their strengths and their weaknesses, and don't come across as the dumb jocks that I think a lot of people think of them as.
And my next question is, you've been reporting on Bitcoin for more than a decade. What has it been like to watch the growth over the years?
Well, it's been a life-changing experience. When I wrote my first Bitcoin article in October 2011, it was almost an unknown technology. And the people that did know about it were either really, really, really excited about it or thought it was absolutely stupid. What's happened over the years is it's slowly become more mainstream. I'm asked less frequently to talk about what Bitcoin is, and asked more frequently to talk about what impact I think it's going to have on traditional finance. On a personal level, it's completely defined my career. When I started writing about Bitcoin, I just graduated from college and was looking for something to specialize in. Little did I know that I was going to end up specializing in a technology that has completely forced global finance to reimagine its role in the world.
As more banks and companies get involved with cryptocurrency, how do you think will it impact the economy?
Great question. I'm a big believer in the free market and competition. And I think that a lot of traditional financial institutions have been competing with each other, but not necessarily with new ecosystems and not with new ways of doing business. And so what I think Bitcoin is really doing is forcing a new kind of competition. It's forcing these institutions not just to look at how can they offer the same product more cheaply than their competitors, but do they need to reimagine what they think of as a product in the first place? And do they need to maybe even reimagine their role within the bigger picture? So it's not just a question of, will these big banks and financial institutions adopt Bitcoin? It's not just a question of, will they let their customers use Bitcoin? It's a question of, what will it mean for the way that they think of themselves and how they serve their customers? Sometimes I think they're going to actually change the very DNA of what they are.
That's really cool. Do you think NFTs are the future of art or a fad?
Another good question. I think that they are part of the future of art. I think that traditional art's not going anywhere. There will always be oil paints on canvases. There will always be marble sculptures. But just like the medium that we use to create art is always changing, I think of NFTs as a new medium. Or perhaps even more importantly, a new way to track an existing medium, which is digital art. So to summarize, NFTs aren't going anywhere, and I think they're going to supercharge digital art, but in conjunction with traditional art, and they are going to grow forward and mature together.
What made you want to become a journalist like me?
Well, I've always thought of myself as a writer, but quite frankly, I didn't think I was ever going to get paid to do it. And so I was writing in my free time while I was working in the hotel business. And after 3 years of what I like to joke is telling rich people what to do for fun, I realized I wanted to figure out how to actually get paid to do this. So I went back to graduate school. I got my master's degree in journalism and finally figured out a way to get paid to write. So it all started with just an original love of writing, and then business journalism kind of evolved out of my desire to do it professionally.
What advice do you have for kids who want to be journalists too?
Well, I have to say, I actually think kids have a little bit of an advantage on this front because you're great at asking questions. I think that we lose what makes kids good journalists the older we get. And quite frankly, every time you ask the question why, you're being a journalist. And kids are famous for asking the question why. So my advice to young people who are considering becoming a journalist is don't change at all. Just keep asking why over and over and over again.
My last question is, what is it like working for Forbes?
It's actually awe-inspiring for me to be at Forbes. 11 years ago, when I got my degree in journalism with a focus on business, Forbes was an unattainable goal that I didn't really think would ever happen. To find myself here as a direct result of writing about blockchain and cryptocurrency is really a dream come true in a lot of ways. What I love most about it is after largely being focused just on blockchain and cryptocurrency for a big chunk of my career, coming to Forbes gave me an opportunity to be surrounded by some of the smartest people and best writers that write about all kinds of different stuff. So now that music is being applied to blockchain, I've got some of the greatest music business journalists in the world that I can just pick up the phone and talk to. And that goes the same for any number of industries where I have access to some of the greatest experts in the world.
Oh, do you think I can get a job with Forbes?
Well, first things first, I think we'd have to put you in for an internship. And internships are a great way to start working at Forbes. In fact, unlike a lot of media organizations, Forbes actually pays its intern. I'm not sure you're old enough to get a paycheck quite yet. And unlike a lot of other news outlets, we are also really good at hiring our interns. So in fact, if you did become an intern, it could be a great way to get your start. So I think now might be a good time for me to turn the tables on you, and you can get a little bit of practice being the subject, and I will go into my day job and I'll be a journalist. My first question, I can't help but wonder, is what does the famous Lily want to be when she grows up?
I want to be a person. I am a person, actually. I want to be a superhero and an actress and a princess and a light maker.
Well, I'm not exactly sure what a light maker is, but I'm really happy to hear that you want to be something that you already are, because I think that shows that you've got a really good sense of confidence. And I would love to see you become a princess and anything else that you want to be. You do, however, have a bit of a natural talent for journalism. In fact, it was your rapport with Michael Saylor and your ability to communicate that made me want to speak to you in the first place. So I can't help but wonder, what was your big takeaway from interviewing Michael Saylor? What's the one thing that you learned?
I learned that Bitcoin's really important for the future.
I think you're probably right. In fact, Michael Saylor would probably agree with you.
I love that.
And I know that you work really closely with your parents to prepare for all these videos. What advice would you give to new reporters about how they can prepare for an interview?
Well, it's important to do the research.
It is indeed. Good answer.
Thank you for being my second guest ever in the whole world. You're the best.
You're the best too, Lily, and I'm sure you're going to grow up to be an amazing human being. And whether or not you become a princess, a light maker, or a journalist, I'll be rooting for you.
Thanks for watching, Lily. So bye.